So for those who have managed to log in and are here, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Louisa, as you can probably see on the video. I work for Nest Management, who are hosting this today. And we're doing these monthly webinars. This week, obviously, is the topic of safeguarding, specifically positions of trust. And the reason that we're doing this is as guided by Jo and Ben. It's something that's of vital importance at the moment. It's still very much a grey area. It's new legislation, and we just wanted to update you all as much as we possibly could. It's something that is vitally important right now, along with all other things safeguarding. We have opened this up. It's something we've never done before, but we've opened this up to the entire martial arts community. So normally we would only do webinars and seminars for our own clients. But this year, and having worked with Jo and the safeguarding team for a number of years now, we actually wanted to open this up to the entire industry because it is extremely important, and it isn't something that we just wanted to keep to ourselves. We want this to be an industry-wide initiative so we can all work together on this. So that's a little bit about us. Just very quickly about Nest. I know there are some people who aren't with Nest, and if you aren't, just to fill you in very quickly, we work with martial arts schools all over the country. We also work in Europe and Australia, and we are a business support team and a management software system to help run and grow martial arts clubs. So that's just a little piece about us. Joining us today, we also have Jo Aldridge, who, as I say, we've worked with for a number of years now. Jo has worked with national governing bodies and in sports business for over 15 years. She initially set up the project in 2018 and since has worked with Sport England as the project manager for the safeguarding code in martial arts. Now, some of you on this call will already have that code. You'll have worked your way through to achieve that. Some of you might have not. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, Jo will be talking about that a little bit later on in the webinar. We also have with us Ben Potter from CPSU. He is training and development consultant for CPSU. Ben develops and delivers training and consultancy for a range of sports and NGBs. And as part of this, he provides specialist case advice, safeguarding policies, procedures, and guidance to sporting organisations. But specifically to us, he's also the lead for martial arts within CPSU. And I believe he is, in fact, a martial artist and fighter himself. Now you're going to be able to
ex martial artist.
You don't need to talk about that. You're a fighter in my eyes, then. You will be able to ask Jo and Ben questions, and later on at the end we'll bring you all online. I think you'll be able to see us all anyway, and you'll be able to ask some questions. At the moment you're all muted, but if there's anything that you would like to ask throughout this session, you can pop it in the chat and we will all receive that. So we'll be able to answer it for you. If it's something that's sensitive and you don't want everyone to see, you can pop that in the chat and just make it visible to hosts and panelists. That way, only we will see it. No one else will see it. And when we address that question, we'll make sure that we address it anonymously for you. Okay, we are recording. You should have seen that when you signed in. But just to let you know that we are recording this session. We think it's important so those who weren't able to see it will also be able to have access to that information. Okay, so listen, I'm going to kick off. I'm going to start with some questions. We'll work through it as questions. We're going to start with Ben, and then we'll move on to the code itself with Jo. So Ben, I'm going to ask this question probably as a way to open this up to you, open up the platform, but can you explain the amendment made last year to the Sexual Offences Act and how it affects sports clubs?
Yeah, so last year in June, the law in England and Wales was changed to ensure that position of trust, which had previously been teachers and people in those kind of levels of employment, weren't the only people that could be seen as positions of trust. So we launched a campaign called Closing the Loop, and what that meant was that instead of just having the definitions of what they previously were, it was now going to encompass sports. So to put it bluntly, it would say that a coach cannot legally have a sexual relationship with young people they look after under 18 years old. So within that new guidance. So the sport is defined as any game in which physical skill is a predominant factor, and any form of physical recreation which is also engaged for purposes of competition or display. And it doesn't mean you don't have to have both of those things to meet that definition. Either one of them is sufficient. And those in positions of authority in sport can have a positive influence on the welfare of young people by providing role models or someone to turn to. But it's important that there are clear boundaries in place for the safety, not only of young people, but the staff as well, to ensure that exploitation cannot take place.
Ben, can you explain what a position of trust is? Is that the same as a position of authority?
I'd say position of authority would probably be defined as someone like your police officer or a doctor, somebody like that. That would, and obviously we realise that abuse can happen in those situations as well. But a position of trust is a person in a position of authority or responsibility over another person. So those in positions of trust, they have a considerable amount of power and influence over a young person's life. If you put it into sport context, that person may be dependent on their coach or mentor, or whatever title they've got for their sporting development or their development as a person or success, or their position in a club. So if you're a star striker in a football team, or you're the best guy in your boxing gym or whatever. So and that's where the problem has previously come, because there weren't guidelines. There was guidelines before, but there was no law stating that those people in those kind of positions had any sort of legal responsibility with regards to what they were doing with young people in their care. And I think the spike, I guess, in sort of high profile cases where coaches or scouts or whatever have been using those positions to actively, groom and abuse children, they've come to the forefront with the high profile cases. And I think it was felt that, this is something that we at the NSPCC have been campaigning for a while, because we saw that the power differentials in those kind of relationships can obviously cause those concerns, and we wanted something legally to say that it was acknowledged that you need to be aware of your responsibilities and not use those relationships that you've built for nefarious purposes.
So in the environment of a martial arts club, a martial arts academy, people with positions of trust could be anywhere from a business owner to an instructor to a coach. How far down that chain does it go? Or is it essentially anyone above the level of student?
Yeah, essentially that's what it boils down to. And I'm sure that we'll get to a point later in the webinar or questions afterwards where you are having issues with people that potentially were students and then they become instructors and they're potentially already in a relationship or they start a relationship. But yeah, it's a minefield. I'm not going to pretend that it's simple and straightforward, but there is clear guidance now of what is and what isn't acceptable behavior. And I think if everybody sort of familiarizes themselves with those parameters, there should be less of a problem. And particularly with a sport like martial arts, where there is a lot of physical contact a lot of the time and there is a lot of close proximity work into young people, we understand how those relationships can develop. But it's about, I guess, putting things in place to ensure that you as a coach or an instructor are protecting yourself as well as looking out for the welfare of the young people that you're working with.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, prior to this was guidance and advisories, I guess, and now it is legislation.
It's law now. So previously, I think there's probably been times when everybody's thought there was something a little bit off with a relationship that they might have seen, in relation to sports or really anywhere else. And there is a lot of grey area around the fact that obviously the age of consent and the age of being an adult are two different ages here. And previously, that is something that I guess people in sports could have hid behind the fact that, you know, if somebody's over the age of consent, then legally you're not doing anything wrong, even though somebody might find that relationship distasteful. But now there is clear guidance with regard, or there is clear legislation with regards to the dynamics of those type of relationships, and what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, what is healthy and what isn't healthy. And unfortunately, with regards to sports, not just martial arts, any sports, it is unfortunate that you have a lot of people gravitate towards those sports just purely so they can have close contact with those children, and it gives them a free rein to kind of do what they want to do.
And Ben, is this irrespective of age, or are we just talking about people under the age of 18?
For the most, I mean, for us in the CPSU, it is generally under the age of 18 because you're still legally a child. However, there is guidance with regards to vulnerable adults. So I think it's any kind of you probably need to talk more to the Ancraft Trust, like, because they're basically us, but for adults, and their feelings around it. But it is really any person in a position of kind of authority or power that it applies to, because I think, I mean, it's
Guys, I hope you've all managed to log back in. I'm so sorry about that. Someone else from the business was trying to log into a Zoom session, so they kicked us out. So I'm really sorry about that. How very rude of them. And Ben, you were rudely interrupted.
Yes, it's fine.
It's worse than being kicked off mid.
Yeah, it's all right. So is everyone else back in?
I think we've got most people. Majority, yeah, we've got majority back in now.
Cool. Okay, so what I was saying is obviously for clarity on you know, adults with regards to these kind of issues with position of trust, you'd probably need to have a chat with the Ancraft Trust. But for me, what constitutes being a vulnerable adult is so much broader than it used to be, because you know, once upon a time, vulnerable adults were those with, you know, what you would think of like physical disabilities or whatever, and it's not like that anymore. So, you know, it could be people that have got PTSD, or, you know, they've got mental health concerns, or they're suffering from something like that, as well as obviously those that are viewed as having a disability. So in terms of that, yeah, position of trust it pretty much covers everybody. So I think to put it into layman's terms, I think anybody with a position of power using that as a way to create a relationship with somebody else who they are responsible for in some way is an abuse of position of trust, I think. So I guess that kind of sums it up.
And Ben, you were mentioning before that there is framework around this. Is
yes.
This that you were able to distribute or
yeah, I mean, I can put we've got guidance on our website, which I can put in the chat. So we've got guidance on preventing abuse in positions of trust, particularly in sport. We've also got like understanding the implications of what that is, and that includes like a dictionary definition of what is a position of trust. So it will give everybody on the call a real clear view of their roles and responsibilities within that.
Excellent. Yeah, if you can pop that in the chat, that would be wonderful.
Of course, yeah.
And just quickly to finish off on this section, for the martial arts instructors that are online here, if they're concerned about an existing relationship between an instructor and one of their members,
Yeah.
you know, that may contravene the law, and they don't know if it does or doesn't, but if they think that it may contravene the law, what would you suggest would be the most logical next steps for them?
Well, I'd always say that if something doesn't look or feel right to you, then you should report it. I mean, I think there's still a residual left over in sport, as opposed to some other places where people are like, well, I know that guy, I don't necessarily feel like that they would do that sort of thing. But if something doesn't feel right, then report it. You should have club welfare officers or a safeguarding lead within your sport. If you haven't, then there is the option of coming to the CPSU for advice and guidance, or to Jo to find out what your next avenues would be. But yeah, I think if something doesn't sit right with you, you have a responsibility to pass that information on.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Ben. That is
My pleasure.
really appreciated. And I guess a segue on from there, Jo, Ben just mentioned about safeguarding code, that people would be able to contact you guys for any guidance on this. Could you just talk a little bit about how you help in this particular arena, and maybe just safeguarding in general for those who haven't got the code already?
Yeah, thanks, Lou. I thought I'll just do a quick 5 minutes on what the safeguarding code in martial arts is. I've had a quick look through the list of people who are attending. I recognise a couple of names, but it looks like most people probably aren't certified with us at the moment, so it's worthwhile me giving you a bit of an explanation. Those of you that are, I'm really sorry, maybe go make a cup of tea and then come back for the interesting bit again at the end, because I think I don't want to take too much time right now. I think the conversation that we're having around this important situation, you know, is much more important, and people can come back to me about the safeguarding code. So I want to just share a few slides because it helps me stay on track and make sure that I've said everything. Can you see my slides at the moment?
Not yet.
Okay. Try again. I wonder when it kicked me out if it's changed.
Victoria's just going to, right, try it again.
Let's try again. Ah, that's better. Okay.
Yeah, we've got it.
Okay. You see that now?
Yep.
Fantastic. So, like I said, I'm going to do this super quick, but I'm really happy to help anybody after the session today if you've got any more questions. So go to safeguardingcode.com. That is behind our lovely faces here, for our website. We are a national lottery funded project through Sport England. As Lou said, we've been around for 5 years now. We're supported by really important partners, Ben and the CPSU, the NSPCC, and the Ancraft Trust that Ben mentioned to look at safeguarding adults in sport. And we are hosted by an amazing charity called the NWG Network. If you don't know anything about them, please have a look at the amazing work they do to basically prevent child exploitation. So I am employed by them, and our project runs out of that charity. So we exist basically to support you guys, to scoop up any martial arts club that operates in England. I should say, importantly, because we're Sport England funded, I'm really sorry if you're in Wales or Scotland. We can't officially certify you. You're more than welcome to work through our standards, and I'd be happy to help people outside of the call about that. But we can't officially recognise you, I'm afraid, unless you have a club operating in England. And we help create a safeguarding process if you need it in your club. Some people come to us with quite a lot in place already, which is great, but if not, we can help you activate some good standards in safeguarding across your club, and that's across 20 standards that the CPSU initially created for us that are our benchmark that we work towards. Once you're certified with us, we help you demonstrate that you have this award to parents, and we actively market the project to parents so that if they're looking to find a martial arts club near them to take their child to, hopefully they'll be presented with our project and they can make a choice from our map. I know if you're a Nest customer, you have an opportunity through Getting to Martial Arts to be marketed as well. So hopefully double marketing means, you know, more members. That's sort of where we want to go. And eventually we would like parents to talk to their clubs if they're not registered with us, to encourage them to sign up as well. So you might find you get questions from parents at some point. And our other role really is a side role, but we are here to provide information relevant to the sector. Today's a really good example. So, you know, you're busy running your clubs, you haven't necessarily got the time to think about changes in legislation. We'll be bringing that to you. We sort of keep in touch with what's going on. We share newsletters. We have a Facebook group with nearly 1,000 people in it that's really active, and we use that to share information and education and training opportunities that might come from Ben or our partners at the Ancraft Trust. So it's a useful place to be. Who do we work with? Everybody on this page, basically. So it doesn't matter if you're affiliated to an NGB or not, if you're a Nest customer or not, if you run a franchise, if you would consider yourself to be a governing organisation and you operate a number of clubs, if you work on your own, we can work with and certify any and everybody in that situation. And we're doing lots of work with parents, schools, local authorities and leisure trusts to educate people about the requirement for the safeguarding code in martial arts. So hopefully if you're running a club out of a school, our hope is that head teacher will ask you to show that you're certified through the safeguarding code. If you're hiring facilities from a leisure centre, as an example, we're trying to educate local authorities and leisure trusts that they should be asking for the safeguarding code as a minimum requirement. So hopefully people are going to start looking for this. It's worth getting ahead of the game and signing up now. How does it happen? It's basically a free service. You register online and confirm an account. You get access to an online application form, and you can take as long as you need to do that. It saves along the way. It's really user friendly, so you can do a little bit and come back to it. Some people take a day or a week or a year to complete that. There is no time limit once you start, and we can help you all the way through. Your application is assessed, and if you're successful straight away, you're certified with us. If there are gaps in your application, we never kick people out. We will keep working with you until you've achieved the standards. And I think it's really important to say that the team and I really don't care if you come to us and you have absolutely nothing in place. If you don't even have a safeguarding policy, there's no judgment from us. It's our job to make sure that you can achieve the standards, and we'll work with you as much as we need to. So please don't feel like you know, you're going to be judged when you come to us initially. The process is fairly straightforward for some, but for those who are maybe a bit more IT challenged, it can be tricky. So please just reach out, and there's my contact details at the end of this. So far, we've got over 1,000 clubs in England certified on our map. That's where you'll get a little pin that parents can click straight through to your website from. You get a dated certificate, and it's valid for a year, but every year you must come back in and renew your commitment to safeguarding. It's a good diary reminder to think about safeguarding, if nothing else. And the other thing that we do is we run a quality assurance process on 10% of all of the clubs that are certified with us. That means we do a bit of a deeper dive into the evidence behind your application. The initial application asks you to upload a few pieces of evidence, and quite a lot of it is self-declaration. So we might come to you asking for a little bit more detail about that afterwards. This is just a quick snapshot of our map right now. You can see there are a few gaps, but there's a lot of activity on there, lots of choice for parents. And if you're not already on there, then you need to be, is my point. So I just wanted to show you that. And just in summary, I think there's info@nwgnetwork.org. Please note that down when you start your application. If you need any help, that's the best way to reach out to us. You'll find in the application tons of free support and guidance. I know if you're a Nest customer, you're also going to get loads of templates and policies that you can use, are provided by the team at Nest. we have some as well. So we're asking you to think about codes of conduct, and within those you should be considering the position of trust information that Ben's been talking about. We ask you to have a code of conduct for your instructors that will feature that, but also for your members and for the parents that attend the club as well. Safeguarding policies, safe practice policies. So we want you thinking about concussion, contact, safe sparring, all that sort of stuff you can find within the application. So please don't feel daunted by all the information that you might look at when you initially log on. There's loads of stuff there to help you. We can point you in the direction of any training that you might need if you have any gaps. And we will take as long as it needs to get you through. So we can have bespoke one-to-one Teams meetings with you. We can get on the phone whenever you need. If you want your whole club or organisation to go through the process, we can do an online or face-to-face is back, face-to-face sessions again. We can come and visit you. We have attended business, I can't remember what your business days are called, Lou, at NES, but we have
Client conference.
We've been to the conference. We've also been to the office, and we can attend sessions where we can help you there and then. If you've got your laptop, we can work through the application with you. So if you need anything like that, please let the guys at NES know. In summary, we're here to help, and we really want to get you on the map. That's a really quick whistle stop. I'm conscious we've got half an hour, and I want to be able to give people time to ask questions, especially of the information Ben was sharing. So I'll leave it there.
No,
but if I can help anybody, please let me know.
Thank you very much for that, Jo. I can vouch we have hundreds of our clients that have gone through the process of getting the code, and I know from their feedback they were 100% supported throughout the process. I know, Jo, whenever we direct people to you with questions, you guys are really responsive with any part of safeguarding, any queries that they have. So it is a really good thing to go through, if only to have that resource available to you if you've got any queries in the club. So listen, we are a little bit over time, but if anyone has any specific questions, please do put your hand up. We'll unmute you from our end, and you can ask that question through the webinar. Alternatively, you can just pop a question in the chat and we'll receive that through. In the meantime, I'm not sure, we've got some, okay, we've got your links, Ben, on there. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we have a question. Hi, Jo, I need to renew our safeguarding code. Do I need to start the process again?
Yeah, I recognise your name, Lee. I think it's been quite a while since you let that lapse. I think generally if it's been more than 6 months, we ask you to start again. Hopefully it's at least familiar to you, and it should be quite straightforward, but just reach out if you need any help. But unfortunately, yes, I think in your case, what I'm going to do is just check the system after the session, and assuming your email is still the same, I can drop you a note and just clarify for sure.
Lovely. And Jo, I know you had your contact details on the slide there. Would it be okay for you to pop them in the chat, just in case anyone wants to copy and paste them? And Ben, are you open to people contacting CPSU? Is that a service that you guys provide?
Yeah, so we have like a duty system. So if anybody has any queries, they can call that, and then it will go to one of the senior consultants. Alternatively, I can stick my email in here as well if like people want to contact me with questions. It's not a problem.
Yeah, great. If you can pop that in there as well, and then they might not have questions now, but someone might.
It's fine. No worries.
Think of something when we're offline. Okay. Well, look, it doesn't seem like there are any more questions coming through, which is detriment to your talks. Everything was very easy to understand, I feel. I think perhaps when people go away and have a think about it, things might spring to mind, and quite often you don't have questions until something actually happens in the club or in the academy, so at least the guys know that there's resource available should anything happen. I would just finish off by saying, people who are on here who are our clients, you can always contact me. I'm the person in the office that deals with safeguarding, and I can direct you to someone who will most definitely know more than I do. We offer free online training sessions, which you will need to be able to get the code in safeguarding. So they're all funded by Nest. And yeah, look, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. It's a very important topic, so I'm really glad that you've seen the importance in it. We would like to run more of these. The aim, look, is just to protect your students, to protect yourselves, and to keep young people and young vulnerable adults safe. That's what this is all about. So if we can continue this momentum, keep it going, keep awareness in the industry, then that's all that we can hope for. But listen, thank you so much for your time. I believe that there'll be a recording that will go out automatically when we come offline, so you can always rewatch this again and we can make that available to people. Jo, Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been an absolute pleasure seeing you both, and we will look forward to seeing you all soon.
No worries, my pleasure.
Thanks, Lou.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.